Hello, Jim Lynn here. Welcome back to the workshop. I always feel a bit of trepidation as the final assembly and glue up approaches. On the one hand, there's that excitement and anticipation as the project nears fruition, but on the other hand, it's so easy for it all to go horribly wrong, especially if you don't plan the whole glue up operation properly. But there's a few things I need to do before we even get to that. I need to remove all the crayon markings from all these surfaces, and as the tenons are going to be wedged, I need to prepare the mortices for that. But first, let's cut these legs to length. The length of the legs are 750mm, and I've marked that on my story stick, and I've trapped the other end of the story stick square against the bottom end of the leg, and I've made a mark with my marking knife onto the leg at the 750mm mark. Now I want a really nice saw cut with as little cleanup as possible, so I'm going to use my marking knife to mark out where I'm going to cut. Hold everything firm, make a light cut across first of all, then gradually deepen it. Now I'm just going to unclamp and set up for marking on the reference edge. Hold it firmly, drop my knife into my indentation I made at the end of the last line, slide up the square nice and tight, make my cut softly at first, gradually deepen. Now I'm just going to carry those lines round to the other two faces. First of all, the face side with the stock of the square against the reference edge, and then finally the face edged with the stock of the square against the reference side. Did we get the lines to meet up? Of course we did. One of the important benefits of using a knife line to mark out rather than just a pencil line is that you've already severed the fibres before you've even started the saw cut. So as long as you keep your actual saw cut on the waist side but as close as you dare to the knife line, then when you finish the operation you're going to end up with a good clean edge all the way round. Now here I've actually penciled in the knife line just to highlight it a bit so that I can see it and hopefully it will show up more in the camera. Now here you can see that I've started at the end furthest away from me and I'm working my way carefully along the line till I get to this near end, but without too much depth at the moment. I've got the saw moving in the kerf, and as I do so I start to drop my right hand, so I'm dropping the handle downwards, tipping up the saw to continue the cut down the next vertical line, but only for 5 to 10mm or so, and then I stop and I reposition the work so that that face is now upwards, and then I can continue with the cut. Then again, when I reach the near edge, I do the same process, drop my handle down and continue down the vertical line for another 5 to 10mm or so. Now I just need to continue the same process for the remaining two sides. And when I'm finished, what I'll end up with is a continuous kerf all the way around the leg that's in pretty much perfect alignment, and that's going to do two things. First of all, it's going to almost guarantee a nice clean edge to the finished cut, and also it'll enable the saw to self-jig as I complete the sawing operation. Now to continue, I'm leaning over the work so that I can sight down onto this corner here at an angle of more or less 45 degrees, and I've aligned myself so that the two kerfs look like one continuous one, pretty much as you can see here. This is like a kind of Jim's eye view. Now this makes sawing awkward, but it does have the benefit of making you use a light touch and therefore let the kerfs guide the saw. So I just need to watch the entry and exit points to ensure that I don't damage my good edges. Now once I reach the lowest edge of the short kerf, I start flattening the saw angle to progress along the long kerf for a while. Then I flip the work 90 degrees and repeat the process. Once I've done all four corners, I set the work so that the show side, that's the side that's going to be seen, is upwards. Then I just have to finish the cut. Not too bad, a little bit of clean-up to do with maybe some chisels or a block plane, especially round about here, but good clean edges, so I'm really pleased with that. Right, with one of the legs secured upright in the vise, let's have a look and see what we've got. Well, first of all, got nice clean edges, happy about that. If I look inwards from the edge towards the centre of this upper surface, there's some nice clean surfaces along the edge here where I did the initial saw cuts, but as we get more in towards the middle, there's more evidence of marks left by the saw, and there's quite a clear ridge here, so I suspect there might be a little bit of a high area here, but not too much, but we best get the square onto that to take a more accurate reading. So I'm going to take a series of readings with the square along the more clean surfaces along the outer edges of the top of this leg. So to begin with, I'm going to put the stock of the square against the reference side. Crouch down. I can clearly see it's high there. At this end, high here but more hollow in the middle. Now moving round to the reference edge. Yeah, definitely high there. And little is more, it's better there, but it's a little bit high still. I think that we've definitely got a slightly high area here, so we're going to use the plane to take that down a little bit. Right, I want to avoid these areas here, so I'll put some pencil marks. These are the low areas. Now we've got the number 4, and I've already tested the setting. Now you might think that a smoothing plane isn't the right plane for end grain, but every plane is the right plane for end grain as long as it's razor sharp. You can see the colour change in the surface, which means I'm taking material off just that area there. Still high. Just that corner there. That's done it. Let's look at the other direction from the reference edge. Yeah, that's pretty good. But moving across from one side to the other, I've got a tiny high spot just about there. Here. Yeah, let's stop cutting, I think we're okay there. Good, that's done. I'm going to be taking all the marks off here, so I need to put some more marks on here to let me know which side is which. So this is the reference side, so I'm going to put a letter R there, which means that's the face side, so that gets an S. That's the reference edge, so that gets an R. This end gets an F. I get a tick in the middle, and we're done. Now I don't want these tenons to ever come loose from the mortices, so I'm going to use a variation on a technique of wedging tenons called fox wedging. Now if you Google fox wedges, you'll find out what they are, and you'll also find out that normally fox wedges are internal, but I'm going to use the same concept but externally. Now I think it's easiest if I just do them rather than get into diagrams and the like. So I'm starting off here by marking out 2 mm from the ends of the mortices. Now these marks are made on the outer surface of the leg, that's the surface where the end of the tenon will protrude. And I've also made a reference mark about halfway down the inside of the mortices. Now I can use the 38 mm chisel to create a slope that's a few degrees off perpendicular. This will create space for what I'm going to do to the tenon, and you'll see that in a minute. So you can see I've successfully created a slope to the ends of the mortices, but it only extends halfway down the mortise. The other half will remain a tight fit to the tenon. I did the same process to the other 3 mortices off camera. So now that I've done that, and also now that I'm sure that I'm finished with all of the joinery, and so I no longer need any reference surfaces, I can clean off all the marks and dirt. Now I know that it's possible that there'll be more dings, mark and probably dirt to deal with after the glue up. This is a good opportunity to get into all the surfaces evenly. So now friends, here's 3 minutes of hand planing using the Lee Nielsen number 4. Now here I'm using the Lee Nielsen number 60.5 block plane to make a rough 45-degree chamfer. Now it's not really for decorative purposes, but it's more just to ease the edges. And this is especially required at the ends of the legs which will contact the floor. So here's the three legs and the two cross rails all cleaned up and ready for assembly, all looking pleasingly nice and clean, and I don't think that they'll look this clean ever again. To help me keep track, I've made marks on the top ends of the legs. The red letters match identical letters on the cross rails so that I can get them matched up again. Okay, time for the most nerve-wracking part of any project, assembly. Well, as you can probably see, I have actually completed the assembly phase, but I wanted to include the cleanup phase as well, and that was going to make the video very long. I think at the moment it's up past 45 minutes, and that's even after editing. So I think the best thing to do is to split the video here and post the assembly video as a separate video in about a week or so, and that'll appear here once I've done it. Now if you want to know how I got this number 4 plane to cut so well, that video should appear here. But in the meantime, friends, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time on Mr. Lynn's Workshop.